Pike with Real Talk, and today it's Real Talk about Seton Ridge, and we are with Ben Young of Southwest. Thank you for taking your time today. I know you're a busy man.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And you look very happy. You must have a great home life. That's all I can say. You look like you're just a person in a good spot. Is there anything before we get into the Seton Ridge maybe that you want to share about what makes you get up in the morning and feel so good about things? I mean, I'd love to talk about the project, but how about you?
You know what? The whole segment will be like this. Just so you know, Ben's my husband, bless his heart. And I apologize up front right now.
For what's about to happen.
So Ben, let's get into Seton Ridge. So Southwest would have acquired this back in what, 2011, I believe?
2011. Yes, we've been at it for a while.
Yeah, and you've been on the file how long?
7 years.
And rumor has it we're starting construction this year.
So it's either going to be before the end of the year or the latest will be sort of first quarter in 2024. Yep, we're close now. We have all our approvals and just doing some final details on civil engineering and that.
Being on the file for the past 7 years, is that normal? Is that a normal process or for subdivisions here, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, there are no normal situations. This is being developed by way of a DA, which is development agreement, and the development agreement is a negotiation with the city, and it depends on how complex the file is. Mm-hmm. This one is a complex file, and it took a long time to get through it. It also saw a few delays early because the city was going through some different planning, so it had to be put on hold before we can even start the conversation to find out sort of where their growth nodes were. And certainly this is one where they want to see some growth. It's a large infill site, but it's longer than typical, but it's also an atypical project.
Can we talk about the history of Seton Ridge? Who were the original owners?
So the Sisters of Charity would have owned it, and you can't see now because the buildings are down in the grounds, but it was a spectacular site. And when the building that they had on the site was past its life, it had to come down and they were going to construct a new purpose-built, and that's when they decided to dispose of land. They'd gone to market, asked for proposals, so our company would have put in a bid with our concept. So it wasn't just about price, it was tell us what you're going to do with the land. We want to see something that's going to add value to the city and the surrounding area, and we submitted our plan and we were selected to develop the project, which is a huge responsibility. Mm-hmm. And that's when we would have started our work after the file was kind of awarded, to start working with the city and understanding the project and what could be done.
Within Seton Ridge, you're going to be having multifamilies, single-family homes, you're going to be having some commercial. So will Southwest be building all of that, or do you have any partners who are going to be on the project as well?
So 2 phases, a good question. A lot of people don't, when these subdivisions come together, people don't realize there's usually a number of players at the table. Often you will see the land developer will just put in all the civil work. So, you know, typically what you would see would be roads, your power lines, your playgrounds, all your sidewalks and that. It's basically a community that's ready to build structures on. So in this situation, we are the developer, so we'll be doing all of that, and that's the start date that we talked about, end of this year, first quarter of next. That will take about 2 years, so there'll be a lot of stuff going on, and at the end you'll see a product that looks 100% finished, and it essentially will be, and I'll be waiting for a sort of review of the engineers to look at what's been built, did we build according to the drawings, then they certify it, and at that point in time you're permitted to come in and then start to pull permits on the homes and or apartments. And on that side of it, we have partnered with a couple of other really good players to join us in building it out. It'll be a big project for us to build out on our own. So we selected partners to do the single family homes, and we've essentially selected one other partner to build 50% of the multi-unit sites. So you're right, it will be a combination of parks, first of all, single family homes and multi-units that will be various sizes, and the commercial that you talk about is the retail footprint. So this will be a very different project in that it's going to look and feel like an urban community with all of the amenities contained within the community. It will be the first really truly walking complete community that the city has seen, and the retail will be very purpose built, so it's very intentional. So we'll want to have retail that is a great amenity to the subdivision and the residents. Things like an urban grocer, brew pubs, places to eat, coffee shops. Essentially, you should be able to walk to 95% of your requirements without getting in the car and having to go anywhere, and all very close to the city. So what will look different too when you drive in, and you may not notice it immediately, but all the power will be buried.
Nice.
There'll be no on-surface, not large on-surface parking lots. So it's going to feel like you're driving through more of an urban core with a planned sort of town center within it, with the focus on the retail there.
I love that. Was there, where did you come up with the model for that? Was there another development that you would have looked at somewhere else and thought, that's a great concept, we're going to do that here? Or was this just Mr. Spatz and that's what he does?
Combination of a few, but Jim is aspiring to make this the greatest community in Canada.
Yep.
And that is the way he does things. And so it was a combination of looking at all the different projects and that were around the country and some in the US and that, and talking to urban planners, and then coming up with, you know, our own spin on what that should look like.
Is it okay just to stand up and maybe just point to a few things of, you know, where things may be?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you, hopefully in the background, you're getting the shot now. I mean, this obviously, it's 63 acres, so it's the largest infill site that sort of remains in Halifax. It will have 2 access points, so as you look over our shoulder, you'll see obviously the basin feeding into the harbor, and at the base of the hill is the Bedford Highway. So that will be one point of entrance for the subdivision. And if we pan around and look towards the back on the tree line, this whole area will be developed, and then on the back corner will be a second entrance to Lacewood Drive. So essentially, after you leave the Bedford Highway, you'll come up the hill, and if you pan around the tree line, and you'll see some homes sort of up in the back. That defines the perimeter of the property. So the entire site is going to be developed. We have a really cool pond that we've retained up top that we're going through public meetings. The residents want to maintain it. They use it for ice skating in the wintertime, and it's a really cool little feature. So it's a terraced site, which allows the buildings to step down and will also lend itself to great views for all of the buildings as well.
So how many single-family homes are going to be here?
165.
And how many multi-unit buildings or doors?
About 2,500, give or take. So the final number will be determined as you do your detailed design on the apartments, and you try to sort of get a feel of the mix. So, you know, as things change, you may find that you want more 1-bedrooms, in which case the unit count may go up a little bit. If there's more of a call for 2-bedrooms as we're building them out, then the unit count may go down a little bit. But generally, we're targeting about 2,500. Okay. And that wouldn't include the retail. It would be at the base of the buildings.
Then what motivated Jim Spatz to come up with the design that he did and want to curate this?
It's a good question, and you know, I first started working for Southwest. This is one of the things that drew me to the company, this in addition to the other projects. Jim has, you know, he's had a lot of units in the city. He's been around for a long time. He loves design, and at this stage in his career, he wants to do things that are spectacular and that excite him, which is really fun to be around. So great sense of energy. And when he took this on, I know we talked about this, and aspirationally, people would think, oh, that's a very lofty goal. But when I said he wants this to be the best in Canada, he truly means that. And that goes into everything, every little bit of design. When he's talking about it, you can feel it when you listen to him. And yeah, so it's just, he saw a large piece of canvas that somebody needed to paint on, and he wanted to be the artist on this one. So he fell in love with it. It's a great project.
That would be Jim.
Yeah.
So just as we're walking down here, what is going to be on this side? Like, is there going to be a particular place where the multi-units are going to be, or how is that going to be laid out?
Yeah, so you know, we mentioned earlier, it's a good question. We mentioned earlier that we had held some public information meetings. They're required as part of the approval process with the city, but we actually did a few before we even met with the city. So we did them on our own, ones that were not required, and we invited the public out and said, look, here are our plans, this is our vision. What would you like to do? It's one of the reasons that we're retaining the pond. They gave us that feedback. The other thing they had asked for, we had the multi-unit spread throughout the site with the single families sort of intermingled, and they said they'd like to have single family backing on single family, and they'd rather have more density towards the center of the project. So while it is still a mixed community, we have single families around the perimeter. So when you look up on the hill, we'll back single families against that portion of the project. And when you swing down here on this side, it will be the same type of situation. So it will be single families backed on single families, and then try and keep your tallest, most dense buildings towards the center of the project. And then we step them down as we move out and down the road as well.
What do you feel that the price point would be in here? Is that too soon to ask?
I thought you were the pro on this one. Aren't you the realtor? Maybe you should be asking yourself that question. I mean, I would normally go to you and ask that. You sound like a consultant now. You're asking me to borrow my watch so you can tell me what time it is. Like, I don't know. It's going to be... there will not be entry-level homes. We are trying to mix the footprints and therefore the rents on the multi-units so that we have something to offer to a wide range. There will be an affordability component within the multi-units as well, which is great. That was a commitment we made to the sisters as part of the development. So on the single families, we don't have affordability issue. On the multi-units we do, and like I say, we're trying to get to different price points, and even in the single families we're getting to different price points as well. So we have a mix of lots. Some are 40, some are 50, and some are 60 foot wide, and as you know from being in the industry, that will dictate the price of the home.
Yep.
So it's hard to tell. I mean, I'm hoping construction costs are going to come down. I know when we built our house, I think we built at a time that was expensive. It was hard to get lumber post-pandemic, but some of those things are settling down right now. So
Thankfully.
Yes, thankfully. Yeah.
Well, I won't keep up much of your time. I mean, I'm very blessed to be able to have you here.
Listen, you can have all you want. It's the invoice. I don't know if you can pay it or not. It's been a little slow in real estate this year. So are you going to be able to pay the bill, or what am I up against here? Am I going to have a receivables issue, Miss Pike?
Welcome to my world. Thank you so much for joining us today.